Hey y'all, it's your girl Ari X Ari Usain, and I'm back with another video. Today I'm gonna just use an illustration right now tonight because it's actually nighttime. It's 10 o'clock at night, and I'm gonna just use an illustration. In this picture we have Jacob and Esau, and if you don't know the story of Jacob and Esau, so Jacob was the younger brother, Esau was the oldest brother, and Jacob, he manipulated Esau into handing him over his birthrights because he knew that Esau was hungry, and he saw that he could do this by the means of manipulation and using his mother. Now there's a poet called Langston Hughes, and he wrote a poem called I Am the Darker Brother. So before we get into that, because I am a poet and I just love poetry, I'm gonna read that poem from Langston Hughes where he said, I am the darker brother, and kind of tell y'all what it meant as it pertains to him being in America and his perception, and just what Esau's problem is with Jacob. Because after Jacob manipulated Esau, giving the advice of his own mother, that's who you see in the back of Esau. Esau was noted to have been the lighter brother, and we know this because in the Bible it says that Esau was born red with hair all over, and so that just tells us that he wasn't necessarily like his twin brother Esau. They were twins, much like Cain and Abel. Esau and Jacob were twins, but I'm gonna get into that. Let's read this poem just for fun. So I Am the Darker Brother used to be his name. It's now called I Too by Langston Hughes. I too, sang America, I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow, I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen. Then, besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I, too, am America. All right, so you like, what that got to do with anything? Like, what does that poem have to do with anything? Because I am a poet, I knew exactly and I understand exactly what Langston Hughes was trying to say. So many Christians and so many religious people, they kind of shun Esau because of what he did. This curse the sin that he committed, they shun Esau, not realizing that Esau being hungry and taking the food from his brother Jacob and submitting his birthrights to Jacob was a part of God's plan, simply because of what happened between Cain and Abel. You understand what I'm saying? Until this day, the Cain and Abel story is filled with so much deception. See, people like to elaborate on the fact that God accepted Cain's offering but not Abel. They don't even understand why God accepted Cain's offering and not Abel. It wasn't because of the fact that it wasn't because of the fact that Abel's offering wasn't good enough. It was just the fact that it was Cain who was offering it up. And that was just the grudge and the vengeance that God had on man at the time. You got to understand that because of how Cain came about. However, Cain still was a child of God, and so God just cursed him, but he said, do not kill Cain, although Cain did commit murder. He said that anybody who killed Cain, the blood, will be on his head, and he'll also die, and he'll avenge their families for killing Cain. So he had a lot of mercy on Cain, some people would like to think, and it was for a reason. Amen. It was for God's purpose. It wasn't for anything having to do with anything that a normal, thinking person or a person who's not really invested into who God is and spirituality can understand. You got to take your own concept out of this, because God is not like men. You got to ask God for understanding of certain things. And so let's elaborate on to why I got into the Langston Hughes poem and why I got to Esau and Jacob, okay? Because Esau's hunger and was a part of God's perfect plan, because we see what God did with Jacob. Therefore, it appears that it was God's will for this to happen. And I believe that's where a lot of Esau's anger came from towards Jacob, because remember how angry it said that Esau was inside the Bible. However, if you would like to be really, really honest, a lot of people could say that it was because of Esau that we have in America today. Okay, and I don't want to elaborate on that for small minds, but for those people who need to understand and already this conversation is mainly for people who can understand what I'm speaking of, because it's not for everybody. Those who have ears can hear, and those who have eyes to see what I'm saying will be able to see. Because it is actually, the reason that Esau fell is the reason why we have America. When this matter had taken place, Esau had hardened his heart towards God. And so he refused to acknowledge, God's son coming through, Jacob's blood, who had ultimately become Israel. Because Esau knew that the right of, what his father had blessed his brother Jacob actually belonged to him. So he was angry at God. He didn't respect anything his brother did for a very long time. And even, when they linked back up and got back cool, he didn't respect what prophecy would ultimately come through Jacob because of where it got its origin, period, point blank. By this point, Esau had already written his good brother Jacob off as a liar. So anything done by his hands just seems suspicious because of how he got his origin. So he don't want to play into nothing. And that was all a part of God's plan. I'm speaking on this Esau and Jacob story because it's still relevant today. You understand? That's the issue that we face with complexion, and we don't understand, ethnicity, and we don't understand who we are as Americans. But as a black woman in America, I want to say that I am American too. I understand, even though many people, like the Christian community, and I would identify with a Christian, however the case may be, the fact of the matter is, I'm American too. So that's just a perspective of it all. But listen to this. Listen, just like Cain and Abel was twins, they shared the same womb. Just like, we all share the same world. Cain and Abel were twins. They shared the same womb, which means that we share the same, they share the same world. At the end of the day, Esau and Jacob ended up dividing themselves into two different kingdoms. However, these two different kingdoms came from the same womb. You understand what I'm saying? And they were both blessed tremendously. However, Esau's blessing was more tangible, and they both had tangible blessings. They both had spiritual blessings. However, because of, someone perceiving something a certain way and not understanding how God thinks, or both of them perceiving, like Jacob perceiving his victory and Esau perceiving his defeat, or Esau feeling like, he's cursed and unworthy, and Jacob feeling like he's so much better. That was all a part of God's plan. But if you think about it, at the end of the day, they are completely equal because they were at the womb at the same time. They were conceived, like they are twins, just like Cain and Abel were twins. They twins too. Amen. Understand that they are twin brothers. Amen. They don't say that one was born, not ghetto twins, one got another mom. They got the same mom, the same dad, born at the same time. However, God had different plans for both of them to come bring it back to one purpose. Regardless of what Esau think, what Jacob think, what Esau and Jacob's mom think, or what their father thought. It was all a part of God's perfect plan, not Esau's and Jacob's perfect plan. Amen. So I too am American. I am the darker brother. I am the darker sister. And if it wasn't for both Esau and Jacob, amen, there will be no revelation or nothing to conclude these days. There will be nothing to, it says in Ecclesiastes, like sometimes people who have a lot of spiritual work to do, they wonder why. It's vanity at the end of the day, but it's a thrill. Because we got to believe in something. You got to fight for something. However, at the end of the day, it's all a part of God's plan. It cannot be hindered. It cannot be stopped, regardless of whatever it is that you think that you can do to change the course of what God has planned for an earth that he created. Amen. Esau's like, I too sing America. And Jacob was like, I'm blessed. At the end of the day, it was because of them both that, the will of God was able to be fulfilled. They had to be twins. They had to be two of them because God had a point to prove inside the world, inside, what it is that he created. That's all I'm trying to say. And like I said before, if it wasn't for Esau, there will be no America. Amen. Because we all know how, like I said, Esau sinned and fall short of God's glory, but his sin, just like Eve's sin, just like Adam's sin, is a part of where we all got our origin and a part of God's perfect plan. Amen. Amen. So I too sing America. I am the darker brother. Amen. It's God's will, not our own. It's your girl, Ari X. Are you saying? Remember, do what you got to do for you.